Hello and welcome to my channel, looseningcaptivesblog.com. Today we're going to be discussing Reform Theology and how that can affect the Christian's walk with the Lord. Are you living your life with an underlying fear of falling into sin? Are you fearful that God is up there just waiting for you to make a mistake so that he can judge you? Do you see yourself as a wretched sinner saved by grace? Unfortunately, this is the view that too many Christians have of themselves and of God. This poor view of themselves as wretched sinners saved by grace crept into the church at the time when Christianity was becoming the state religion of the Roman Empire. The view that human nature is depraved from birth, and even after the new birth, we are forgiven but still base sinners, started because of a mistranslation or the taking scripture out of context. This negative view of human nature is based on what is called Reform Theology, which was held by many of the church fathers, especially Augustine, who was very influential in Christianity. And he lived in 354 to 430 AD. And he was very influential, as I said, but there were others like Irenaeus, Luther, John Calvin, who also believed in this Reformed theology. Reformed theology teaches that when Adam sinned, all humanity sinned as well because we were all in Adam. This is known as the original sin doctrine. This theology also says that we are born with an evil nature, with the propensity to sin, unable to do anything good, and totally depraved, deserving God's damnation. Now, those who hold to this theology believe that what they believe is in the Bible. They use the following scriptures to prove their point. They use Romans 3:10, which states, "No man is righteous, all have sinned." They use Romans 3:23, "All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." Romans 5:12-21. I'm going to paraphrase. We all sinned in Adam and are hardwired to sin because we inherited his corrupt nature and guilt. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitfully wicked above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Ephesians 2:1. The natural man is dead in trespasses and sin. Genesis 6:5. We are inclined toward evil. Psalm 51:5. Conceived in sin and brought forth in iniquity. Isaiah 53:6. All of us like sheep have gone astray. Isaiah 64:6. Our righteousness are like filthy rags before the Lord. Now, scriptures like Isaiah 53:6 and Isaiah 64:6, for example, pertain to the Jews who were exiled and not to all humanity or the Christian church. John Calvin, another influential church father, used the mistranslation of Romans 3:23, which reads lack of glory of God, instead of the correct translation, fall short of the glory of God. There's a difference there. The mere fact that God created humanity in his image and likeness makes us glorious creatures. We just fall short of the glory of God. It's not that we lack the glory of God. Even Paul said that everything that he created has its own glory. Now, the scriptures mentioned are just a few examples of how mistranslations or taking scriptures out of context has negatively influenced the Christian church, even until today. These negative views have made many Christians feel that even though they are saved, they must keep performing to be good enough, or striving to ensure that they do not fall into sin, otherwise God will not be pleased with them. This wrong doctrine of Reformed theology has hurt many, many Christians in church. As Christians, we must rest in the finished work of Christ, not work to get on God's good graces. The Father already sees us in Christ. The truth is that the Lord Jesus Christ and the Father have a more positive view of humanity in general and of his church. Jesus recognized that there is both good and evil in each person. For example, in Matthew 12:35, Jesus referred to the good man who out of his good treasure brings forth good. And he also referred to Luke. In Luke 8:15, Jesus said that these are the ones who have heard the word in honest and a good heart. In Matthew 5:5-9, he said, blessed are the gentle, the merciful, the pure in heart, and the peacemakers. In Matthew 5:45, he spoke of the sun rising upon the good and the evil. So therefore, Jesus recognizes that there are some that are good and there are some that are bad. Everybody has free will to choose. We're not born in depravity because of Adam's sin, as Augustine and other church fathers wrongly believed. Now, if you grew up in a church that believes in Reformed theology and you believe this erroneous doctrine, if you have the wrong view of God because of this doctrine, the enemy can use this to accuse you before the Father. So ask the Father to give you access into the court of mercy in the name of Jesus. Agree with the adversary that these false beliefs are sin and confess them and repent for believing them and for having the wrong view of God and how he sees you. Forgive, bless, and release those who started this erroneous theology and those who perpetuated it. And then ask the court that the blood of Christ wash away those sins. Wait for the verdict, and then thank the court and exit. If you want more information or more detail on how to go into the court of mercy and also how God really sees us, then visit the shop section in my website, looseningcaptivesblog.com, and you can purchase the book called Precious in His Sight by Harold R. Weberly, and also the book Engaging the Mercy Court of Heaven by Dr. Ron M. Horner. I'm going to post the link to my site underneath this video. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye.